Tom McMasters.
Thank you. I am Tom McMasters. I am a candidate for Ohio State Congressional District. Let me put my military training to use up here and bring the bottom line up front. I'm a fiscal conservative that believes that we need to reduce the deficit and the debt in order to lay the foundation for prosperity for us and our children. Speaking of children, I'm a proud father of 5, and my wife Marilyn and I have been married for almost 15 years. I retired from the Air Force in 2009. While active duty, I supported Operation Desert Storm, Sarajevo, and Somalia relief. I had deployments in Ramstein, Germany, also Kabul, Afghanistan. I've been blogging since 1998, some of it whimsical, some of it satirical, some of it serious. But if you go into my old websites, you can see that I've had many cutting-edge ideas that have later become common sense. For instance, 4 months before General Petraeus took command in Iraq, I wrote an article that basically mapped out what our future methods toward the Iraqi awakening turned out to be. President Obama has a new plan for housing refinance where people that are underwater but have been making their payments can take advantage of the low interest rates. I started writing about a plan similar to this in 2009 and have been developing it ever since. And if Congress would have adopted my 1999 campaign finance reform proposal, Citizens United would not be a problem today. So you can see that if you send me to Congress, you'll have somebody with vision that can lead. But besides that, I have building blocks that will also help me in Congress. I have a Master's of Arts in Teaching and a Mathematics Teaching Certificate. My undergraduate degree is in Physics. And by the way, how do you tell if you're talking to an extroverted physicist? Somebody that looks at your shoes when he's talking to you. And he tells bad jokes too. But that brings up one of the objectives that I have, and that is to change the perception that people have of what their congressman should be. We recently had a president whose best attribute was that people thought he'd be great to have a beer with. Certainly, our politicians have to be able to speak. They have to have good personalities, and they have to be able to make sentences. But my strengths are the willingness to do a lot of technical work, the ability to understand the details, and the sensibility to promote credible solutions. Sure, I have passion. I would die for my wife and my kids. And patriotism is one of the reasons I joined the military, and one of the reasons I'm running for Congress. And go to my daughter's soccer games, and you'll see somebody with passion. But passion is good for football games. But when it comes to designing a healthcare system, when it comes to promoting education, when it comes to preparing for natural disasters, when we decide we're going to take military action, these decisions take more than passion. Your representative does have to understand people. Keep in mind, there's nobody more passionate than a drowning person. And there's nobody more dangerous. So if you're going to jump in and save that person, you have to make a calculated decision on when and how to intervene. Your representative in Congress also has to be able and willing to make calculated decisions. They have to be able to manage resources. They have to be able to understand the numbers behind monetary decisions. My neighbor and I recently went to Huber Heights City Council meeting, and during that meeting they had 2 items on the agenda concerning the new aquatic center. One of them was the budget for the new amphitheater. The other one was the sign that's going to go out in front of the building. The sign. Was it going to read Huber Heights Aquatic and Recreation Center, or was it going to read The Heights Aquatic and Recreation Center? On the way home from that meeting, my neighbor remarked, wasn't it peculiar that the budget discussion, where it went up from $500,000 3 months ago to $1.4 million this month, took all of about 3 minutes. But the But the sign discussion took 35 to 40 minutes. Okay? So, this takes me back to where I started. I'm a fiscal conservative that believes that we need to lower the deficit, reduce the debt, in order to lay the foundation of prosperity for us and our children. Thank you. My name is Tom McMasters. I look forward to your vote on March 6th and being the Democratic nominee for Congress.
Tom, I've got a question for you.
Certainly.
Somebody who works out from the base, I'd get all over that right path. And there are a lot of programs out there that are costing the taxpayers a lot of money. And I see things every day that could be kept back as far as efficiencies go. And you're a fiscal conservative. How do you see the future of the U.S. military and our expenditures toward that military?
And I have that same outlook, as a matter of fact, and you see I've written a lot about it. And that's one of the things that is going to be hard, because I of course make my money out on base as well. I work as a contractor there, and you can see that in my daily news response out there. I say that we could probably cut 10% of the military budget right now and still get the same level of service out there, because we know that that they spend money to budget as opposed to spending money to what it should cost. Okay, you have to budget for inflation. That doesn't mean you have to spend to inflation out there, which is one of the main things I've always said as part of even the whole time I was active duty. The other thing is, just like you know, I was in a program last year, and I actually resigned from that program because I didn't think it was going anywhere. I took a different position in the South. They were both in spoke, but I chose not to pursue staying with the same program, because I was very concerned that they were going to keep that program going, and we'd end up buying $48 million worth of these systems, deploying them out, and then they'd sit there because they were totally useless. So I make those statements all the time in my work and to my bosses, and made the political activist statement by telling them, hey, I'm leaving because I think you're going the wrong path, like that. And there's many other things about the way the base is run that I know that I can interject in, and if I make it through the primary, will certainly bring up as a matter of fact, so that we get better efficiency and better use of our tax dollars out on the base.
Another question? I'll ask it then. What do you think about having troops over in Germany? What would you do about that?
I actually like the idea of bringing our troops back home and having us base out of here for the most part. And if we need to deploy for a reason, Somalia or Syria, do what we have done previously and rent those bases on a as-needed basis. For instance, we'd actually closed down Frankfurt, and then when we decided to do Somalia relief, we just moved in there as we needed to with the deployment and come out there. So I think we could save a lot of money like that. Now, people have to understand that if we're going to train here in the United States, though, bombs go off, in our ranges, and it has a little bit of an environmental effect. So we have to plan for that as well as part of the military, make sure we clean that up and do as little damage to our own area as possible. But I like the idea of bringing as many troops as possible, and then doing whatever kind of arrangements we have on an as-needed basis to facilitate whatever military action we need.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you again. I'm Tom McMasters, candidate for there, and if you've seen my postcard, you'll see that I don't accept any candidate contributions at all, which turns off a lot of people, and the fact that they don't think that you can win unless you're raising money, and that's a common belief, and it's one of the common beliefs that I hope that we can get rid of, as a matter of fact. And with that, if you go to my website, you'll see that I'm asking people to do stuff other than sending money, which would be empty their email contacts, and some of my other campaign material says spend 2 stamps in order for better government. If we can get the people in here to empty their email contacts and to send 2 or 3 letters out there and get a campaign going, then I believe that we can take the money out of politics. It's the commitment of the people that believe in politics, that believe that we don't need money in politics, that will raise the day. And if we're successful, the benefits will change all of Congress. You would not believe how much power a single person that could take the money out of politics would have. Because unlike a lot of people, I don't believe that most of the congressmen want to be bought. They just believe that the system is that way. They believe that they have to accept that money in order to get by. So if you have one candidate that breaks that mold, you'll have 435 others that will follow that lead. So with that, other things that we need to go back to, again, I'm a fiscal conservative, and I believe that we should pay our bills. But I'm looking for people from the past, and you can see 60 years ago, we had a Republican president that said, we're a dead party if we don't back Social Security, if we don't back these social programs that are now part of our lexicon. 50 years ago, we had a Democratic Party that inspired a nation when he said, ask not what your country can do for you. We need to go back to our roots, both in the Republican and the Democratic parties, in order to raise again our attitude and our standing here in the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.